Today I'll be talking about the trace element copper. Copper is virtually found in all body tissues. Rich sources include meats and shellfish, nuts, seeds, legumes, dried fruits. It is bound to organic compounds, components in food and released in the stomach and small intestine by hydrochloric acid and pepsin. There are also proteolytic enzymes in the small intestine which will hydrolyze proteins further to release copper. Absorption occurs in the stomach at a small amount is absorbed with low pH. In the small intestine, there is a both active and passive as well as a carrier-mediated transport that occurs with copper. I've listed the transporters for you. I think they would be very difficult to remember, so no need to memorize those. As with the other nutrients, absorption is higher when intake is lower, so maximizing that intake, or when the body stores are higher, absorption would also be lower. Factors that enhance or influence, I should say, first of all, absorption, the amino acids histidine and cysteine, organic acids, citric, lactic, acetic, and malic acids, gluconic acid as well, inhibitors, excessive acid ingestion. So if you're taking a lot of calcium carbonate, you will interfere with the pH that's needed for the absorption of copper. Phytic acid also interferes as well as zinc. Intestinal cell copper use, it can either be stored, utilized, or moved into the blood for transport. Transport occurs in a number of ways. In blood, it's loosely bound to albumin and to alpha-2 macroglobulin. In the liver, it is used to synthesize ceruloplasmin, which is a transporter of copper, and that accounts for about 60 to 70% of the circulating copper that we find in the blood. In terms of storage, the liver is the main storage organ, and the liver controls homeostasis of copper. Metallothionein is another carrier of copper, it's a storage unit, or functions to store copper, and it can store up to 12 copper atoms per molecule. And copper will influence in the hepatic, renal, and brain tissues metallothionein synthesis as well. This is a table from your book covering the select functions and mechanisms of action of copper. There are a number. I would encourage you to review those. It has vast and varying functions in the body. In terms of interaction with other nutrients, iron, if you have anemia from prolonged copper, you can get anemia from prolonged copper deficiency, and it must actually be treated with copper. Molybdenum, and I never say that right, it's a tough one, that will interfere with copper utilization. And that's a good thing if you have Wilson's disease, which is a genetic disease which causes toxicity from too much copper. So it's used as a chelator. Excretion is primarily through the bile and feces. There's a little bit lost, urine, sweat, skin cells, desquamation of those skin cells, and some other sources. The RRDA I've listed for you. Notice that they're in micrograms, so very small amounts of copper that is needed. Deficiency can occur, and remember that nutrients do interact with each other with excessive zinc consumption, nephrosis, so if you have some kidney damage going on, GI malabsorptive diseases such as celiac or Crohn's disease. Toxicity is at 10 milligrams. And Wilson's disease that I just mentioned is a genetic disorder that is characterized by copper toxicity. How do we assess nutriture? Well, serum plasma or RBC copper, red blood cell copper, serum ceruloplasmin, so that protein transporter of copper, and they also can check the response of serum ceruloplasmin to copper supplements. And I still hear now and again that hair is being used to assess copper status, and that just doesn't work, so don't spend your money on that. That concludes my lecture on copper.